My name is Judith Brown. Coming up this morning. Electoral Commission has begun deployment of logistics to the various regions ahead of the December 7 general elections, which is only 17 days away. Also this morning, Ministry of Education rejects calls for the immediate arrest and prosecution of officials accused of allegedly repackaging and distributing expired rice to some senior high schools. Also coming up this morning, Ghana head coach Otoo issues a heartfelt apology following Black Stars' failure to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON 2025 in Morocco. We have these and many more coming up shortly. Please do stay with us. Well, we're going to start with our first story, and the minority in Parliament is demanding that President Akufo-Addo ensures the immediate arrest and prosecution of the directors of Lamens Investments Africa, the company accused of allegedly repackaging and distributing expired rice to some senior high schools earlier this year. Now leading the charge, Samuel Okudzeto-Blakwa is also calling for urgent national medical screening of all senior high school students who have consumed the alleged contaminated rice.
Allegations of 22,000 bags of expired rice imported from India, illegally repackaged as made in Ghana rice and distributed to schools, have been at the center of controversy over the past few days. The NDC caucus in Parliament have described the recent happenings as a criminal conspiracy of state institutions to endanger the lives of students in senior high schools.
Devious criminal conspiracy and the complicity of state institutions to endanger the lives of thousands of helpless teenagers in senior high school, entrusted under their care by carelessly rebagging over 22,050 kg of expired and contaminated Moshosho rice from India and distributing same to our schools. Headmasters have complained about receiving rice without expiry dates. And they tell us that when they raised concerns, they were threatened. And so regrettably, they had to keep mute and just accept the rice like that.
The minority in Parliament is demanding swift action against those behind the distribution of the alleged expired rice. Led by Samuel Okudzeto-Blakwa, they are calling for arrests, prosecutions, investigations, and a national health screening for affected students.
There is the need for an urgent national medical screening exercise. President Akufo-Addo and Vice President Bawumia cannot remain silent on this grave matter. Punish culprits who are largely their appointees. The NDC caucus also demands the immediate arrest and prosecution of the directors of Lamens Investment Africa Limited. The board and management of the National Food Buffer Stock Company must be sanctioned. The Ministry of Education must be probed.
The North Tongue MP is worried over the potential health implications of students who have consumed the rice.
It encompasses immediate digestive systems, potential allergic reactions, long-term health risks, including chronic inflammation, liver disease, and nutritional deficiency. The long-term impacts are insidious, potentially leading to irreversible health consequences.
The minority insists this matter must not be swept under the carpet.
Let's say a bit more on this. And the Ministry of Education has rejected calls for the immediate arrest and prosecution of officials accused of allegedly repackaging and distributing expired rice to some senior high schools. Spokesperson for the ministry, Kwesi Kwarteng, spoke to TV3.
It is not disputed that indeed the consignment that came into the country by December 2023, it was very close or near to its shelf life in terms of the date that had been on the original labeling, being the best before date. But of course, the company had apparently written to FDA with the aim of seeking to extend the best before date. Right. FDA had to require certain tests on the product before they extended it. But after that was granted, the company, again, from the findings that we made, wrote to FDA and requested FDA to give them an approval. And based on that approval, the company was going to do a repackaging. Of course, if you had read the earlier notice that we brought out, according to the company, they were just doing that to prevent issues of backlash. Because, I mean, people may not really get the whole understanding as to how the product is labeled within a specific date where the best before date was supposed to be elapsed and then an extension has been granted.
Okay.
So it was that approval that was denied by the FDA. That is where even the company found themselves in trouble when the FDA decided to fine them an amount of 100,000. So even with regards to the fine was in relation to the repackaging, the fact that they did not get approval for the repackaging and not the wholesomeness of the food. Of course, I do not have the capacity, the authority, even the expertise to make such determinations whether or not the food is wholesome. I mean, likewise, the Ministry of Education. But FDA made such determination, and I'm sure, obviously, they align with their own internal protocols to be able to arrive with that conclusion.
All right.
So the most fundamental question is whether or not the food was wholesome and safe, and that the FDA has answered in the affirmative that yes, the food was safe. The second question as to whether they had approval to rebag the food, they didn't have the approval, and that is how come the FDA slashed the fine on them.
And indeed, this is your election command center. Let's do some election-related stories. And flag bearer of the NDC, John Dramani Mahama, is asking residents of Chebi in the Boakwa South constituency to demand their $8 million from President Akufo-Addo, as he promised them in 2016. On the first day of his campaign in the Eastern region, John Mahama has been asking Ghanaians to demand accountability from the MPP. A report by Komla Kluche.
John Mahama's first port of call was in Mahamudu constituency, where he criticized the ruling party for what he described as a repeated pattern of shifting blame rather than addressing the problems. He moved shortly thereafter to Teacher Mountain in the Yensuano constituency. Mr. Mahama claimed that most major polls show the NDC is in the lead and the MPP is now circulating their own polls suggesting they are ahead. He urged Ghanaians to see through the strategy and focus on their experiences under the current government. Then he slammed the MPP on how the rail transport has been run aground.
Free Accra Urban Sawam. They say, when you Bibia Ma was your own bono chrono. And then I make her say, Kedeke Man Sawam Bium. Rails are a war form, Keteke Namsono. MPP for Otoo rails, no, tongue.
He affirmed a promise to improve the mode of transport from the eastern side. He then moved to Adesu in the Upper West Akim constituency. He also campaigned in Asamankese of the Lower West Achim constituency. The entourage then moved to Chebi in the Boakwa South constituency. An avowed and unrepentant MPP stronghold, the locals were uncharitable to the president.
In fact, Chebi Haya Jinankasano, Papa no ba na yesu say oba be ye bibi ama Chebi ma yesu ye hu say ye de hia na bango. Naso na die na nado e die yammo. Ye need us was esi aro ene Mahama. Omra, maybe me hu hwe. You know the so the say. Bank 10 cedi, 20 cedi am ye boa. That way we are dey make me go, make me yammo ma go yi.
For John Mahama, Chebi must demand $8 million for the entire period the MPP has been in office.
Boakwa South, you say, yeah, the $1 million every year. Anka one farmer Obiampo Anka Boakwa South there. Anka $1 million or some Sanka. Ezu, ente menemoka say, Anka by now Boakwa South mwenya $8 million. Modi aye mpuntuo. Me buy the list, atreme. Akwanya say, ensure ni ho, and you may be brave, kechi. And Kenya, $8 million. He said, yes, I had your money now. And so, Sabwa share, ambum.
There's a clarion call from John Mahama to Ghanaians to approach this election with all the seriousness it deserves, as it remains a major communal labor of Ghana against the MPP. Komla Kluche, TV3 News, Chebi.
We'll stay in the camp of the NDC, and the vice presidential candidate for the party, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, says womanhood is important and needs to be celebrated. Now, speaking at the Gender Empowerment Series program, she reiterated the need for stakeholders to join hands in promoting gender equality in all spheres of the Ghanaian society.
Presidential candidate of the NDC, Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman, admonished to the fact that women empowerment should be a priority and women must be celebrated. The theme for the Gender Empowerment Series, dubbed Advancing Gender Equality, a national dialogue on current policies and innovative measures for local and national impact, aims at curbing the problems faced by women. Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman stated that her party's policies aim at meeting the needs of women.
Our policies, therefore, must look beyond cold numbers. But today's dialogue is not about policies only. It is about engaging in a national imperative. It is about creating a Ghana where every woman has the opportunity to thrive. If she's selling pepper, she must thrive in it. It is about crafting a future where gender equality is not just a catchphrase. We gathered here embody a call to action, not just for women, but for an inclusive society where opportunities are accessible to men and women regardless.
The executive director of the ARC Foundation, Dr. Angela Dramina-Boaje, stated there should be policies which ensure that gender issues are prioritized.
We need to define for ourselves when we say gender equality, what do we mean exactly? So that we go by our constitution, our laws, our values and principles. It is very important for Ghana to be able to stand on its feet and say, this is what I want to see in my country when I'm talking about gender equality. It is important for us to also understand that at all levels of engagement, international, national, regional, we need to take the lead as we usually do as Ghana in terms of formulating some of these policies and international legislation to guide this area of work.
To the camp of the MPP now, and flag bearer of the party, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has promised to remove taxes on mobile phone imports when voted into power. Now, addressing party supporters at Nhyase constituency, the vice president said the removal of the taxes will ensure Ghanaians purchase the phones at an affordable price.
The party supporters gladly welcomed the NPP flag bearer and vice president at the Bawumia Community Connect. He promised that a future government under his administration will drastically reduce cost of data and remove taxes on the purchase of mobile phones.
We are bringing down the import duty. We are eliminating the import duty on mobile phones so that mobile phones no buono ebeba form amamo, and also the cost of data. We are going to bring down the cost of data, for our youth.
Earlier, the NPP flag bearer informed the chiefs, clergy and Muslim clerics of Nhyase of constructing a railway line from Accra to the northern part of the country. He said the railway will improve transport and businesses across the country.
From Accra, Tema, Kumasi to Paga, that central line is very important. Your iron ore and all of that. Because that line no back, Buankra port in Kumasi will not be effective. You hear rail line from Accra to Kumasi to make Buankra effective. During my term, me pese me the investors ba na yenye emma Ghana mine to transform Ghana in terms of economic activity. Memuru subenya ijuma bebre aye mini yumat for akasa na kajiro mo se ye be yes ijuma. I want all the materials, the steel, the concrete to be made in Ghana.
Later, the NPP flag bearer and Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia exchanged pleasantries with people and market women and traders.
On to some more stories. In the face of rising global tensions, Ghana is reiterating its commitment to peaceful coexistence ahead of the December 7 elections. At the launch of the Blueprint for Sustainable Global Peace, key stakeholders, including the Electoral Commission and the Ghana Journalists Association, expressed commitment to peace as the election approaches. There's more in this report.
President of COA GMP, Professor Samuel Otoo explained that in order to attain peace, the fundamentals of love and truth must be applied to the world.
It is not about just trying to protect my territory, but I also look at the human life that I will destroy. And know that the human beings that I'm destroying are sinners as myself, and they are the most precious thing God has ever created. So before I plan to go and kill, I tell myself, you're also human beings as myself. I can't.
The GJ President, Albert Jumfo, any form of attack on journalists ahead of the 2024 elections is a threat to attaining peace.
I've been working hand in hand to promote peace and stability in our country as part of our contribution to global peace building. Let me reiterate that an attack on journalists is a threat to attaining peace.
Training Director at the Electoral Commission's headquarters, Dr. Serebo Kweku, established a need for all stakeholders to contribute their quota to free and fair elections.
We are talking of civil society organizations. They are supposed to contribute towards educating people, enlightening people. If there are no inhibitions, the election is free to them. Then it comes to the Electoral Commission itself. We are supposed to be transparent and accountable to everybody, including the men.
Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council, George Amo, also expressed the Council's commitment to ensuring peace in Ghana before, during and after elections.
We will continue to promote dialogue, enhance peace education, support conflict resolution mechanisms, and encourage diversity as we approach particularly this year's elections. We can celebrate interfaith coexistence that binds us together.
The event gathered stakeholders in the peace campaign, including the Garmanche, a representative from the Menshia Palace, Queen Mothers, and many others.
Well, let's do some more stories. And 40 doctoral researchers have undertaken groundbreaking research into climate change, including the impact of illegal mining on citizens. The research project undertaken by the African Institute for Mathematical Sciences is aimed at advancing public health and also creating wealth out of waste.
Food waste remains a critical concern in Ghana, where nearly 1/3 of all food produce is lost or wasted. The Global Food Banking estimates that approximately 3.2 million tons of food is either lost or wasted along the supply chain in Ghana, costing over 700 billion cedis annually. The AIMS Imperial Global Fellows Program is a 5-day program that brought together 40 doctoral researchers from the University of Ghana, AIMS Ghana and Imperial College London to dive into issues of climate change and urban resilience. Research Associate and Academic Manager at AIMS Ghana, Dr. Angela Tebiri, explained the rationale behind the project.
Our students went to see some of the challenges we face in Accra, one being waste management. So we went to Safisana where we looked at how they take waste both from industry in Tema and also from the China market, and how they generate electricity from it to plant and also use the electricity to power their center and also to feed the national grid.
Senior Teaching Fellow at Imperial College London, Dr. Hilal Ahmed, called for funding from government for the solutions generated by the researchers.
The ideas that students have come up with seem very practical, very feasible, and they have taken into consideration all the different stakeholders that they need to be involved with. They've taken into consideration the costs and how they could scale it. Ghana and the government bodies that are here, if they can support these students with their ideas, I think it's a great opportunity to see some amazing changes.
After several pitches from the researchers, the judges, including Professor Elsie Kaufman, settled on one team that developed solutions for food waste at the Ashaiman market.
Our project was waste to wealth, and with the waste we narrowed down to fruits and vegetables. We are taking overripe fruits and vegetables from the market, and we are transforming them into low alcohol juices and then sanitizers for medical uses or for students, and also to sell some of the products on the market.
The theme for the program was synergizing efforts for healthy and sustainable cities.
Let's do some sports now. Ghana head coach Otoo has issued a heartfelt apology following the Black Stars' failure to qualify for the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations AFCON in Morocco. Now, the team's hopes were dashed after a 1-1 draw against Angola last Friday and a 2-1 defeat to Niger in Accra on Monday. Despite mounting pressure and disappointing results, Otoo had previously refrained from apologizing, instead taking a defensive stance before Monday's game.
Really, I would like to apologize for the results. Very much, very much. If I have a wish, one wish, I know for a lot of people, even the World Cup is bigger than the AFCON. For me, personally, the AFCON is bigger. For me, personally, it's just a personal thing. I know for a lot of people, it's more important to go to the World Cup, and I did it once. And I'm just saying, after I did it for the World Cup, before even I came, a lot of people were against me. And I can show you hundreds of things, my friends, but nobody apologized afterwards. Not some few, not a lot. This is the first one. But I'm ready to apologize very, very much. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that we didn't do well and we didn't qualify. I'm very sorry. This one, 100%. I really have to apologize because I know how much it means for every Ghanaian to play in this tournament.
Well, that's our wrap of the 6 a.m. news right here on TV3. My name is Judith Brown. Pleasure coming to you every morning. Do stay tuned for the rest of New Day.